I've tried to gather my thoughts on this whole identitarian takeover of Patreon and YouTube and how the far left has basically exclusively taken over a lot of entertainment mediums and is definitely doing their damnedest to take over every social media site they can because of the threat that social media presents to the domination of the progressive left over all media. And I've recorded multiple videos that I have scrapped because they ended up long and they didn't get around to what I thought was a good key point. And the point is, well, the same thing it always is. All progressives do is lie. But why are they lying now is something that needs to be explained. The main thing they try to do is when they attack a place like BitChute or YouTube or Gab or anywhere else, they always try to say these people are all extremists. They're a breeding ground for extremists. The thing is, progressives lie about extremists and lie about who is or is not an extremist every single chance they get. Yeah, I mean, take it just this week. Finally, the media at large is aware of something we have known for over 2 years, which is that the Women's March is led by fascist Islamic identitarians who are expressly, openly, widely hateful, balls to the wall KKK style hateful of white people, but primarily Jews. And of course the alt-right would love to tell you that the reason why we finally care is because of the Jews thing. Now, whether or not the alt-right is right about that or not, one thing is for sure, at least some people on both the left and right consider Jews to be a minority group that should be looked out for in a way that neither of them, or at least I should say the left, doesn't think white people deserve that kind of protection based on their arbitrary characteristics. Now, seeing as this is kind of interesting because in my opinion, there's a lot of people who think that the progressive left fascist takeover is being directed by Jews. I'm not convinced because most of the progressive left is anti-Semitic. They hate Jews as much as the alt-right does. And what's hilarious is that they try to say that anti-Semitism is a right-wing thing. No, Semitic philia, love of Jews, irrational protectionism of Israel, Zionism, is actually a very broadly common thing in conservative politics. And in fact, a significant amount of Jews are conservative probably because of this fact. Now, I would say in an almost equal amount of saturation, the majority of the left wing is anti-Semitic. They're anti-Israel, they're very anti-Jew, and are actually way more prone to Zionist conspiracy theories than anybody on the right is, except for the alt-right. So I would say that it's fair to say, overall, more anti-Semites are left-wing than right-wing. There are right-wing anti-Semites. They are a smaller portion of the right than they are a portion of the left. The left is quite broadly anti-Semitic. So, of course, we would come around to the fact that the progressive left doesn't agree on every single issue, and quite a few of them are going to turn their identity politics towards protectionism of Jews, while I think actually the majority of them would turn hatred towards Jews. However, due to the fact that organizations like the Women's March are so openly, disgustingly direct that they don't try to couch their anti-Semitism in any particular small, cutesy little terms. They just say like things like the Jews are termites, the Jews ran the entire slave trade, the Jews have started and perpetuate to this day all the oppression of blacks and Islamists and all this shit, yada, yada, yada. They're balls to the wall in your face, and they can't work their way around this. They can't lie and say it's not true. We have the quotes, we have the associations. It's clear as fucking crystal that a lot of the mainstream progressive left hates Jews openly. So now that that's finally all out in the media, perhaps because of Jews, almost certainly because Jews are whistleblowing this, the Women's March has fallen apart. But this is a microcosm of the bigger situation, which is the progressive left is racist at all times. They are the main purveyors of arbitrary hatred, of identitarian hatred on the planet. The Nazis, the alt-right, neo-fascists, whatever, have nothing on the numbers or the hatred or the damage or the malicious and violent intention of the entire fucking progressive left. I mean, just look at your Super Soyan guy, the Exhale Vape Shop autistic retard who screamed and violently attacked a customer just for wearing a MAGA hat. That is the mainstream progressive left. That guy represents the mainstream progressive left. The rhetoric that guy spouts, the hatred that guy presents, and the will to go straight to violence, and the general unhinged, almost schizophrenic psychosis of that guy is emblematic of the entire progressive left. All of the progressive left is that uninformed, insane, vicious, violent, bigoted, all of the above, which is why I've been speaking out against them for almost 4 years now. Actually, almost 5 years. So, the main problem that they have is projection. Everything the progressive left claims to fight against is everything that they are. They are anti-equality, they are anti-human rights, they are anti-freedom, they're anti-tolerance, they're pro-violence. They are basically, literally fucking Nazis, and behave as Nazis can and do. And the more power they are given, the more brazenly violent and hateful and aggressive they are. The more power they are given, the more they are willing to do physical harm, to destroy property, and to express extreme hatred. And they don't even care about women or minorities. This has happened more than once on camera. You can look up the YouTube videos. Very frequently, whenever you see a bunch of white hipster, I think this happened somewhere in the Northeast here. I don't know if it was in Oregon or Washington, whether it was in Seattle or Portland. There was some sort of protest, and part of the people kind of trying to manage the protest and keep them in a certain area were some cops, and a significant number of those few cops that were there were black. The progressive, white progressive activists proceeded to call the black cops race traitors and called them, quote, a nigger to the white man, and screamed the N-word at them constantly. These people are extremely abusive and especially online, but even in real life, will, with extra fervor, with extra hatred, go after any woman who expresses anti-feminist views. And that they are far, far more hateful of women who reject progressive ideology than they are men. So I wouldn't say in America that there's a more openly misogynistic organization than the progressive left either. They are extremely racist, and not just towards white people. They're just as likely to turn their hatred on blacks, Hispanics, especially Asians, and definitely Jews, because they actually do not care about racial harmony or racial social justice. They don't fucking care about racism because they are the main purveyors of racism. What they care about is the same thing that we've been telling you that they care about for 5 years. Ideological hegemony and nothing else. These people do not care about justice. They do not care about racism. They do not care about sexism because they are the most unjust, racist, hateful, sexist pieces of shit in America and in the West in general. So if you're wondering why they would do all this shit where they would target people like Sargon, that they even target pro-LGBT people, they target trans activists, they target especially I mean, just this week we've had all these articles about how gay conservatives, shut the fuck up, you're fucking sexuality traders, all this yada yada yada. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And you really need to look at the New York Times thing that tried to say how YouTube is a breeding ground for right-wing extremism, because they get to present this great big web of how they think that all these extremists are connected. And the vast majority of that web includes liberals, progressives, centrists, people who are very anti-violence, people who are very anti-pro-rights, tons of libertarians. And they all say that all of these people are the alt-right or alt-right affiliated, including multiple channels that the alt-right openly and expressly hates and attacks frequently. So groups like Sticks, Hex, and Hammer, who argues constantly with the alt-right, Sargon, who's basically constantly attacked by the alt-right and was taken off Patreon due to an alt-right harassment campaign that contacted Patreon. Ironically, it wasn't progressives who got him kicked off Patreon, it was the alt-right. And Patreon knows that and doesn't care. They targeted Sargon not because Sargon is a liberal, not because Sargon is against the alt-right, not because Sargon called Nazis, or not Nazis, probably just the alt-right niggers. They targeted him because he's also anti-feminist and anti-social justice, and anything that is a trust and safety council is not a board or a council or whatever that has the purpose of reviewing content or providing trust or safety. Their job is basically an HR department who is trying to uphold a progressive bias in the company, and their job is also to review hate mob harassment content sent their way, where any pitchfork mob, I should say, who comes in and says, we're mad at this guy, we think this guy is the worst thing in the world, he is a traitor to the progressive ideology, and they shit on that guy. That's it. If anybody's wondering why Patreon doesn't care about how many alt-right people or racist people, whether they're left-wing or right-wing racism, whether they're anti-white or anti-minority, they don't care. They don't care about violent content. They don't care about terroristic content. All of this shit is on Patreon as we speak. They actually do not fucking care. The Trust and Safety Board does nothing about these things. They have openly stated in their own words that they respond to people who message them directly, and that it's all a manual process. They do not review anything algorithmically. They do not police the content inside of the content. What they do is they listen for a mob, and then they do the bidding of the mob. And ironically, it doesn't matter if that's an alt-right mob, they'll do their bidding too, so long as they agree that the target is worthy of destruction. And seeing as Sargon is against everything that a Trust and Safety Council stands for, which is not that he's against trust or safety, because the Trust and Safety Council is also against trust and safety. What it is an ideological battle. The Trust and Safety Council is a progressive propaganda wing, and basically a Gestapo for the progressive fascists, and they see Sargon as an enemy, as a thought criminal, and then they destroy him. And the only reason why they haven't targeted left-wing extremists or right-wing or alt-right wing extremists on their channel is because no mob has raised an uproar and threatened to go to advertisers or threatened to go to MasterCard or threatened to go to Stripe over it. It's because no threats have been issued, therefore all of this extremist content, whether it's left-wing or right-wing extremism, is okay on Patreon because nobody has complained in sufficient numbers. That is what trust and safety boards are for. And basically, anytime I hear that there's some statement, a trust and safety board of some product or provider of something that comes out and says, we are this, this, and this, I know not to trust them. But what's ironic is I am, as an anti-social justice warrior, extremely skeptical the second I see an advertisement that includes like a gay couple or a trans person as a spokesperson for a product, and it's not because I am anti-trans, because I am not. And it's not because I'm anti-gay, because I'm not. It's because it makes me think, why did they make sure that I see this? what politics are behind this. And then I start merely being skeptical of that company, and I might pay much more attention to public announcements by that company and what that company spends its charity money on, and where that company might be investing in donations to political organizations or candidates. Because then I know whether or not I feel like boycotting this company. Then I know whether or not I'm going to support this organization or this television show anymore. And it has nothing to do with LGBT this or women that, okay? Because the thing is, what a lot of LGBT and gays and women and minorities and whatever the fuck don't understand about progressives is what I said at the beginning of this video, and the same thing I'm going to say here at the end of this video. They don't care about you. They will turn on you. You are not safe from the progressive hate mob because you have black skin. You are not safe from the progressive hate mob if you're gay or a woman or trans. They don't care about you. They exploit you. They use the goodwill that the generally liberal/libertarian majority of America in the West at large, including Canada and Europe, that they use the goodwill that the public at large has towards you. They exploit the sympathy the public has for you, and they try to tell you that the public that is generally favorable towards you in 2018 still hates you more than fucking ever, which is not true, so that you stay scared and you stay dependent. You're a slave on the plantation. It's no mystery why right-wing and conservatives, especially the new right, not necessarily the alt-right, but just new conservatives and populists in particular, are using things like "get off the plantation" as a slogan. Because you're on one. Because you're being used and exploited. You are a shield. If you remember back in Gamergate, whatever, how cringy that may or may not have been, there's a hashtag that does need to come back. And it's not hashtag GG, it's hashtag not your shield. They hide behind you to avoid criticism of their fascistic policy. They hide behind you so that people don't realize that these are fucking Machiavellian supervillains who only want to harm, attack, belittle, put down, and dominate and exploit everybody around them, including you. Minority, whatever the fuck. Marginalized person, whatever the fuck. You are their favorite toy. And if you stop singing like a canary for them for just a second, they'll snap your neck. They will treat you like they treat white men in an instant. Because it's not even so much that they hate white men. It's not even so much that they love black people or whatever. They love themselves and they hate everyone that's not them. And I need you to realize that.